Have you ever seen two people arguing while one person suddenly goes quiet? It looks like they've lost. The louder voices take over, convinced that silence means defeat. But later, something unexpected happens. The quiet person earns everyone's respect, while the loudest voices are forgotten. Most people believe winning an argument proves intelligence. Psychology suggests something very different. So why do smart people stop arguing? Psychologists have noticed this pattern for years, but few people understand why. It isn't because intelligent people have nothing to say. In fact, they often notice more than everyone else. The difference is that they learn an important lesson. Not every disagreement deserves a response. Once you understand why, you'll start seeing conversations differently. Imagine you're at a family dinner. A small disagreement quickly becomes an argument. Everyone talks over each other. Voices get louder. People stop listening and focus only on proving they're right. Here's what usually happens. As emotions rise, clear thinking disappears. Instead of asking, "Could I be wrong?" people begin asking, "How do I defend my opinion?" The conversation stops being about finding the truth and becomes about protecting pride. Smart people notice this after enough experiences. They realize that once someone becomes defensive, facts rarely change their mind. You can make the strongest point possible, but if the other person feels attacked, they probably won't hear it. Picture two coworkers during a meeting. One argues for 20 minutes, trying to prove they're right. The other listens carefully and speaks only once near the end. Surprisingly, it's often the quieter person who leaves the stronger impression. While everyone else was busy reacting, they were paying attention. That's the first hidden reason smart people stop arguing. They aren't avoiding conflict because they're weak. They simply know when a conversation has stopped being useful. If these ideas resonate with you, consider subscribing. This channel explores the hidden psychology behind everyday human behavior, and there's always more to discover. But that's only the beginning. The next reason has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with energy. Every argument costs something. It drains your attention, your emotions, and your time. Most people don't notice the cost because they only focus on winning. Think about spending an hour arguing online. In the end, nobody changes their opinion. You walk away frustrated, still thinking about the conversation. Now imagine using that same hour to learn a skill, finish a project, or spend time with someone you enjoy. The difference is obvious. Smart people understand that attention is limited. They protect it carefully because they know they can't get wasted time back. Before joining an argument, they often ask themselves one simple question: will this conversation actually change anything? That question changes everything. Imagine a friend who argues about every topic online. Every discussion becomes a battle. Now think about another friend who rarely joins those debates but always seems calmer and more focused. The difference isn't knowledge, it's choosing where to spend energy. Smart people realize that every argument is an invitation, not an obligation. Just because someone wants to fight doesn't mean you have to join them. But another hidden pattern begins to appear. Many arguments aren't really about facts, they're about identity. People often tie their beliefs to who they are. When someone challenges those beliefs, it can feel like a personal attack. That's why simple disagreements sometimes become emotional so quickly. Smart people recognize this moment. They know that once a conversation becomes about protecting egos instead of exploring ideas, continuing the argument rarely helps. So they step back. They stay calm. Sometimes they simply remain silent. To others, it looks like giving up. In reality, it's often one of the strongest forms of self-control. And the next reason smart people stop arguing reveals why silence can sometimes speak louder than words. Silence often makes people uncomfortable. We feel pressure to respond, defend ourselves, or have the last word. But smart people discover that silence can reveal more than speaking ever could. Imagine someone criticizes you in front of a group. Most people react immediately. They explain themselves, argue back, or try to prove the other person wrong. But someone with emotional maturity may simply pause. They watch the other person's behavior instead of matching it. That short moment of silence does something unexpected. It gives emotions time to settle. It also reveals who is looking for understanding and who is only looking for a fight. Sometimes the person who keeps talking exposes their own frustration without anyone else saying a word. This doesn't mean staying silent all the time. It means knowing that your first reaction isn't always your best response. A calm pause often gives you more control than a quick reply ever could. But silence isn't the only habit that separates smart people. The next one is even harder to practice. They stop trying to win every argument because they realize being right and being effective are not the same thing. Think about a manager correcting an employee. The manager may have all the facts, but if they embarrass the employee in front of everyone, the lesson is lost. The employee remembers the humiliation, not the truth. Smart people understand that people rarely change because they lose an argument. They change when they feel respected enough to think differently. That's why intelligent communicators focus less on defeating others and more on planting ideas. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," they ask questions. What makes you think that? Have you ever considered another possibility? Questions invite curiosity. Arguments usually create resistance. This approach often achieves what endless debating never could. People become willing to rethink their opinions because they don't feel attacked. But here's where things become even more interesting. The smartest people also accept something that many of us struggle to admit. Not everyone wants the truth. Imagine explaining something carefully to someone only to realize they ignore every point you make. No matter how clear your explanation is, they keep repeating the same argument. At first, you may think you haven't explained it well enough, but sometimes the problem isn't your explanation, it's that the other person has already decided they won't change their mind. Smart people learn to recognize this difference. They know when someone is searching for understanding and when someone is only searching for validation. Once they see that, they stop wasting energy trying to convince the impossible. That isn't arrogance, it's wisdom gained through experience. They understand that some conversations have no finish line. The longer they continue, the more frustrated everyone becomes. Instead of chasing the last word, they protect their peace. And the final reason smart people stop arguing reveals something even deeper. They have less to do with winning conversations and everything to do with understanding themselves. Another reason smart people stop arguing is that they become comfortable with not being understood by everyone. Most people want others to agree with them. When that doesn't happen, they keep explaining themselves. But intelligent people learn that not everyone wants to understand. Some people simply want to be right. Imagine an artist sharing their work. Some people love it, others don't. Instead of arguing with every critic, the artist keeps creating. They know progress matters more than approval. The same idea applies to everyday life. Smart people stop asking, "How do I make everyone agree with me?" Instead, they ask, "Is this conversation worth my time?" If the answer is no, they move on. The final reason is perhaps the most important. Real confidence is usually quiet. People who always need to prove they're right often depend on winning for validation. Truly confident people don't. Picture two people receiving criticism. One immediately becomes defensive. The other listens, keeps what is useful, and lets the rest go. They don't stay calm because they have no answer. They stay calm because their confidence isn't controlled by someone else's opinion. That changes everything. The goal is no longer to win every argument. The goal is to protect your peace, your energy, and your focus. Of course, this doesn't mean you should stay silent all the time. Some conversations are worth having. Standing up for yourself or defending someone else is sometimes necessary. Smart people don't avoid conflict. They choose it carefully. The more you observe people, the more you'll notice something surprising. The loudest person isn't always the wisest. The one who argues the most often has the least control. Sometimes the strongest response is asking a thoughtful question. Sometimes it's walking away, and sometimes it's saying nothing at all. Silence isn't always weakness. Often it's a sign of emotional strength and self-control. The next time someone refuses to argue, don't assume they've run out of answers. They may have learned that not every battle is worth fighting. Sometimes the smartest response is knowing when no response is needed. If this video gave you a new perspective, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever walked away from an argument and felt better because of it? And if you'd like to explore more hidden patterns of human behavior, consider subscribing for future videos.